PDFs instead. You shouldn't have to get PDF too. Yeah. Hey, Laurel. Laurel? Could you make PDFs of those so it doesn't have to get keynote?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No problem. It's once a month, the third Monday, 3:30 to 6:30. Yeah. It's in there's like a calendar on the website that you can find. Yeah, meanwhile, I'll just introduce the show, because I won't say this much once we're underway. But today I'm going to interview Laurel, fantastic mosaic artist. Some of you were at a workshop with Laurel this week. And did the mosaics over at Mother Fools and a variety of places. If you've been in Madison for a while, you might remember from the Art House Cafe, which was later Daisy, and Hair Unlimited. So anyhow, you'll get to see some blasts from the past, and then also play some of the classical piano pieces called Bagatelles, because I have a new album that has some bagatelles on it. But I first learned about bagatelles. Well, I'll tell you that when the show is going. Do you have your images done? Yes. I'm just going to wait till we have something nicer to look at. How's everyone doing? Try to sound like 100 people. you wouldn't want me to. Meaning is there in the act of the same. And mine reminds me of the time. You know the time when Snowden spilled his messy secret way up high in the sky, cold and humid. Well, the sleeping dogs, they lied. They couldn't turn the tide. We knew it was all the moon, but we still don't know if it's blinding or blanking. And our reflections in your mind are mirrors of the time we knew not to face the music. It always reminds us that we're only human. That song called Only Human, and it's a theme song for this show, obviously episode 39, Art and Life or Blast from the Past, and you'll learn why. So one other blast from the past for me. So I have a new album called Only Human. That's the title track. It's over there, so you can get it if you like. And I have a number of little piano pieces on there called Bagatelles that I wrote. And so I'm going to play some of those later, but I decided to play the first bagatelles I ever heard of when I was a teenager. I learned them at piano lessons by this Russian composer, Alexander Cherubin. And I love these little pieces, so I am capable of playing them right, but it's always different when you're actually performing something. So I'll do my best on these bagatelles that I love. And then Laurel will come up, and then after that I'll play the bagatelles I wrote. Sorry. You are too kind. Yeah, this one was a great piece. I'll do it justice someday. Meanwhile, the images you've been seeing are the artwork of Laurel True, who I'll invite up to the stage and have a chat. Welcome. How's this? Is this good? Can we see you well enough? Okay. Oh, do I have to? All right. Okay. I should get a light though. Right?
Yeah, probably.
How's this?
That's it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Oh, okay. That seems a little. This. Can you hear me? Yes. Cool. Oh, can you hit the record button? Okay. Welcome, Laurel. Sorry for that. Let's hear it. Come on.
Oh, really?
I'll just use the other. Right. Sorry. Thanks. And thank you, Toronto. Coda, beautiful Willie Street neighborhood. And one of the things that makes Willie Street beautiful and unique is it is adorned with some artwork by Laurel True. So, will you tell us a little bit about your story, how you came to become a mosaic artist, and yeah, what's your backstory?
Sure. My backstory is I'm from the area, basically. I grew up in a suburb of Chicago. One of my dear old friends is here, who also grew up there. And I went to school in Madison. I came to school here in 1986, and I got my undergraduate degree here. I loved Madison. It was a great departure from the place that I came from. It was very open and international and exciting. After I graduated, before I graduated actually, I went on a trip to Philadelphia and I saw the work of a man named Isaiah Zagar, and the slide is kind of rolling through here. I think it's a little bit before this. But I saw this guy's work. I didn't know who he was, but I visited a gallery called the Eyes Gallery on South Street in Philadelphia. And it was covered in mirror and glass and tile and photographs under glass. And I was like, what is this? I was already an artistic person and I was doing a lot of mixed media work. And I was interested in fashion and textiles, but when I saw this work, I was like, what the heck is this? So I wrote a letter to the person who did it, and he said, I said, can I learn this from you? And he said, you can. So when I graduated from college here, I went to Philly for a few months, and I apprenticed with this man who is now a dear, dear friend and mentor for me. He's now in his, like 86 now. And I did an apprenticeship, and he showed me what he did, basically. And I traveled a bit after that for a few years and ended up coming back to Madison, living on Willie Street. And that is when I was, what I did with Isaiah, and when these kind of slides loop around again, a typical project with Isaiah was the facade of a two-story building. And so architectural mosaics, like doing some signage that was 8 feet tall, or some, the signage on Mother Fools it wasn't intimidating at all because it was kind of small compared to what we had been doing. And so I started doing architectural mosaics immediately. There was a tile setter who lived in town, and I wish I could remember his name. He was from Kenya, and he had a company that was like based on his last name. Anyway, I did an apprenticeship with him. Then later I did another apprenticeship with another child center in San Francisco, and so got more technical training so I could continue to do architectural mosaics. I also started teaching during that time. I taught my first class at the Wilmore Community Center, which is where I met my dear friend Lillian Sizemore, who is here. And Lillian and I both moved to San Francisco for different reasons, and we hooked up there, and we've had an amazing mosaic friendship, career, colleague, relationship over the years. We've traveled a lot of places, and then Lillian has moved back to Madison, and she's the one who coordinated my workshop here. So I just taught a mosaic mural making workshop here at the Commonwealth Gallery, and then we installed the mural over at Main Street Industries. So my story, like from the time I left Madison in 1995 and came back here in 2025, what's that, like 30 years exactly? So I've been a lot of places and done mosaics all over the world and trained like lots of people, like thousands of people. I ended up, because Lil and I were looking for some mosaic education in the United States, and there was a hole there. You had to go to Italy to learn about mosaics, and so I co-founded a mosaic resource and education center in the Bay Area, where I lived for about 15 years, and have just traveled around and took my show on the road and created a lot of beauty with a lot of beautiful people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Could you describe a couple of peak experiences? And I'm curious about peak good, peak intense, peak bad.
Okay, wow. Lots of both. Well, co-founding Institute of Mosaic Art in Oakland was that was kind of a big pivotal thing for me in my career, because it filled a void for like community coming together and sort of this sort of sense of co-creativity and building community through a shared interest, which was mosaic art. And so I ended up renting this dilapidated daycare center in East Oakland in a pretty blighted neighborhood. I had already had a studio there in that neighborhood for about 5 years, but having Institute of Mosaic Art was pretty huge. I met so many people. There was nothing else like it in the United States. We had thousands of visitors coming, and it was super renegade. It was like a big barn raising. We painted this building purple and threw a bunch of mosaics onto it, and our friends and neighbors and my students came and helped. That was pretty huge. So that was kind of like a big chapter in my career and life, which have been totally interwoven for the last 35 years. And then you probably see some slides going around of work that I've done in Haiti. In 2010, there was a massive earthquake in Haiti, and I ended up going there to work with a youth, like an arts organization that worked with youth. I mean, Haiti's a really poor country, so the youth that arts organization was serving were really resource poor, but they had a cool art program. And so I went there to do a memorial mural for the lives that had been lost. The city that I went to called Jacmel, which is kind of like a cultural hub of Haiti. It has a lot of through lines from New Orleans with the architecture and the vibe, and they're sort of like the epicenter of Carnival. So I trained all these amazing kids, and I thought we were gonna do a one-off, like one mural, and we ended up doing so many murals, and they probably together, and the kids I trained who were young, teenagers, created almost 50 mosaic murals and seating areas all over their town.
Wow.
They started calling Jacmel, Haiti, Ville de Mosaïque, which means city of mosaics in French. Yes, it was amazing. So here's this is the first time I went. You can see that there were still, people were still living in tents because they had either lost their homes or they were afraid to go back into them. And we did this beautiful tree of life that the young people designed. And after that, I did a lot of professional development training with them and taught them how the commission process worked. And we were able to we went through down the entire city block, as you can see, and along the beach. And we just did so many projects, and we went to Port-au-Prince, we did projects there. And I also met the co-founder of a public health organization called Partners in Health on the plane on the way home from my first trip. This is some examples of some of the pieces that the people that I trained. And you can see up in the upper left, the Ministry of Tourism of Jacmel changed their logo to look like a mosaic. There were so many mosaics, I know. I mean, and you guys are like part of this origin story, because I mean, I did the signage for Mother Fools, which Stephanie and John own, and also the counters and also the door surround on the inside, which has been since changed, but
Changed by a car.
by an unfortunate situation.
Go on.
Well, that was my, starting to work in Haiti. In addition to working with this youth arts organization, I also worked with Partners in Health and started doing a lot of work in hospitals and clinics. And that started, I ended up working for UNOPS, the UN, and a bunch of other organizations that were working in Haiti at that time. This is an example of the pediatric ward at a hospital that was built shortly after the earthquake by Partners in Health. So that's a big through line in my work also, to combine art and public health, whether that's in a healthcare setting or whether it's for people. I have a big proponent of, creativity as a really integral part of our well-being, and so, art and public health can have many meanings. So this is pretty literal, but also I've worked with a lot of schools and community centers, and also done a lot of commissions, so commercial commissions and residential commissions as well. This was a team of 5 guys that I trained in Central Haiti as part of that hospital project, and we did mosaics all over their campus. This was on the front of their research laboratory. So the training process has been really important for me too. I train students and volunteers and other artists and tradespeople as well, so they can learn a skill. And doing art together is really officially nice and fun and cool, but also people need to make a living. And as a self-employed artist for 35 years, that I really understand that. And so I do a lot of entrepreneurial training as I'm doing this actual art training as well.
It's gorgeous work. It just is making me think a lot of things about how how silly it is that art is treated as optional or for frivolity or an extra somehow in art culture, which is outrageous, because any desirable place to be or live is usually that way because of art. And I've thought a lot of times, like, plants and art will save us. Plants and art make things better, and it's outrageous how overlooked that is. I don't know if you would like to share anything about your journey being a self-employed artist, and that's a big topic for me, is how difficult it is to be able to have a livelihood and do what you want to do. So how have you approached that? And peaks of all sorts.
Yeah, thanks for that question. It's true, it's not easy, but I feel like I've always been driven by this sense of really wanting to be free and follow the inspiration. And so I built my life around wanting to create beauty, stay happy, and have a sense of freedom and possibility. And so because I didn't come with a giant trust fund, I had to create that for myself and also make a living at the same time. And so I could tell over the years, when if I'm starting to get like, what I'm doing doesn't feel quite right. And of course we all have to do things that we don't like, So my day job has been mosaics, which has been awesome. But I've also got to make a lot of choices along the way and had to be like, okay, what are the things that I do that bring in income? So I've been teaching for 30 years, and I love teaching. I really do. I feel like I'm a natural teacher, and I really like passing on skills and investing in the success of others. I like seeing that. So whether it's a make a small thing class or a professional development training, all of that is really fulfilling for me. So teaching is a big part of my self-employment as an artist. I've also done a lot of commissions, public art, as I mentioned, so that kind of have this like pie chart, it's like commissions, exhibits, my personal work, teaching, community-based work. And with community-based work, which can be underfunded, unless there's a grant or a funder or something, I've sort of learned over the years, what's resonating with me right now, and how can I, and this is a good slide to actually stop on for a second, how can I get my own personal artistic voice out in the world while also making a living and also doing trainings that, where we're forefronting the voices of certain communities. I'm not going into, Jacmel, Haiti, and being like, we're going to do a mosaic of my trippy dream. It's like more about like the history of coffee or the history of the area or the history of Carnival and things that are culturally and historically relevant. So it's been just kind of a journey, Teaching's been a big part of it, commissions have been a big part of it, and getting funding for community-based work. But I've had to pivot a lot, and I don't see pivoting as bad. So that's one of the really core things about being a self-employed artist, is not getting stuck or entrenched in anything as like, I should do this, or this, I really wanted this 10 years ago, and this really worked for me well, but now it doesn't anymore, or I don't even want that anymore. So learning how to pivot and bundling things together. Like, for instance, when I was traveling to Haiti a lot, most of the projects that I was doing with that youth arts organization were very underfunded. So unless there was a specific mural that was being sponsored by someone, I would have to bundle other things together. So I would teach mosaic workshops for expats and wealthy Haitians in Port-au-Prince before I went down to southern Haiti and made a mural with kids, you know? And so learning how to kind of bundle things together and pre-plan also, that's a part of it as well.
Awesome. Well, since you were talking about teaching, when you were saying that, I was thinking maybe we could learn more about your experience with this workshop, and you could show the reel that you were.
Yeah, I would love that. But I did ask to rest on that slide, so
Okay.
I'll just mention this really quickly. I lived in New Orleans for a long time. So I lived in the Bay Area for 15 years after I left Madison, and then I overlapped that with New Orleans. I moved to New Orleans for about a dozen years, and then I moved to Portland, and now I'm a digital analog nomad. So this was in New Orleans, and this is an example of me wanting to do my own work and not waiting for somebody to hire me for something. So my friends owned a butcher shop, and I called it my gallery. So I had art shows inside of there, and then I also did, you know, what I wanted without permission and having to show somebody a drawing. Obviously, this has nothing to do with butchery on the outside, but that's kind of the more commission realm for me, you know, like, well, let's have a mosaic of a hatchet, you know. No, I was like, let's do some trippy eyeballs, and they were my friends. So being able to sprinkle that into the commission, the life of doing commission work, is an important part of sustainability for me as a creative person, so that I'm not always responding to someone else's ideas and creative needs, even though I think that's cool and I like that. I also have to keep fortified myself. So that's what I kind of wanted to say about that slide. But some of that fortification also comes with training and working with others, which I love, love, love doing. And I like building beauty with other people. I think it's a really important thing in the world. I think, you know, neighborhood beautification is a social justice issue. I think there's a lot of economic and community positivity around beautifying spaces, especially public spaces. And so I train people not only how to make something themselves, which could bring beauty and joy into their own lives, but also training people to come together and make something beautiful for their community. Remember that?
I was just thinking about this and wondering
I
if
know.
that was you. The Way House of Light. Does anyone here remember Mona's Way House of Light? I always remember when after she passed, and the realtor commented, and he's like, I'm going to be taking the character. I was like,
I was like, yeah, exactly. It was so
it's
funky.
The greenhouse store. Oh, it was very maintained.
I'm gonna
Oh
maintain
my
the character.
God. Yeah, that was so nice.
Well, this
And,
place-
this neighborhood was full of Laurel's art and full of art.
And funkiness and creative
the Church
people.
of Anarchy was across the street over there, and they went on to found Dreamtime Village. Yes, there's a lot of really great stuff. I feel very lucky. Actually, when you were these are some of the reasons it's called Blast from the Past. Savory Times Restaurant down
Right.
the street.
Where I worked for
Hair
3 years.
Unlimited, Art House Cafe, which turned into Daisy Cupcakes, and that's Hair Unlimited.
These were all like Madison projects that I did. And a lot of them were trades too. Like I don't even know if I got my hair cut there, but that was a hair salon. I also did their whole bathroom. Oh, I know what happened. I had an exhibit. Because one of the things about being self-employed and being kind of a renegade professional is like I wasn't really waiting for like fancy galleries to be like, hey, you wanna, show my work. I was like, let me have a show. We're gonna have a show where I know that my work's gonna be on the wall and in front of people. They're gonna be sitting in a chair for like whatever, an hour or 2 hours getting their hair done. That might be a good place to have my art, right? So I had an exhibit at this Hair Unlimited, and then the woman ended up hiring me to do her counter and her entire bathroom. And so these are kind of how things came up. So this couple, can I mention this real quick? So this is Tom Loser and Bird Ross, our local artists. They live here in Madison. And So a couple of slides beforehand, we just took these the other day, but they hired me to do their kitchen backsplash in like 1994 or 1993, and Tom was a professor in the art department for many, many years. And so they hired me to come and do this like broken dishes style no backsplash, and I didn't know how to bid a job because I was like trading things to people and I just didn't know. They talked me up, like they felt sorry for me. They were like, that's pretty low, and they talked me up. So I did their backsplash, and it's still there. I was just visiting their house a couple of weeks ago, and this was a recent picture. Yeah. So the workshop that Lillian just organized for me here in Madison, I love Madison so much, and now I'm just fallen in love with Madison. This was in Portland with a different mural making workshop. But one of the things that I have really leaned into it through teaching is these mosaic mural making workshops, because we can leave something behind. The students pay for they can think of it as professional development training, which many people do. You can take what you've learned in my 6-day workshop, and then you can go do a professional project. You can do something at a school, or some people come and take it just to enjoy. Like I taught at this Hacienda Mosaico in Mexico. It's kind of an art retreat center for about a dozen years. And we put murals all over that place. And most people just came because they wanted to do something fun, like have a co-creative experience. So I put a lot of murals out in the world that have been created with people that I've trained through these workshops. So Buenos Aires, there's a whole bunch of these rotating. And so Lillian coordinated our workshop space at Commonwealth Gallery. And one of the things I love about teaching is all of the stakeholders and interfacing with all of the different places. So it was really great to have that beautiful space at Commonwealth Gallery to run the workshop. And then we installed the mural at Main Street Industries, which Lillian also coordinated. This is in France. I've been teaching workshops in France for many years too. And so we had our workshop this week. It was, we had our meet and greet on Sunday. Monday we had our kind of lessons and demo. Tuesday, Wednesday we made the entire mural. Thursday we installed it. Yesterday we grouted it. And Will coordinated an unveiling, which was very fun. And we put a really beautiful mural up, which is entitled Compass. So there's a little video, yeah. If you want to, Toronto, if you want to play the video, it's fun. Lillian made this morning for Instagram, but it really shows the vibe of the week, and it's really fun.
Thanks for beautifying our neighborhood once again.
Yay! It's a pleasure, such a pleasure. I mean, it's so great to be embedded in a community, whether temporarily or for a little bit longer. And I've fallen in love with Madison, and I'm scheduled out for the rest of the summer, but I plan to come back at the end of the summer and hopefully have the rest of the year here. I know, excited.
What's next?
Oh, I am going to the West Coast on Friday, and I'll be there for about 5 weeks teaching, and then I'll come back after that. And then I've got another workshop in France in September, so I'll pop over there. Then come back again. Hence I don't have an apartment, because I'm just moving around so much and I'm not so attached. While that's pulling up, when I turned 50 in 2018, I sold my house in New Orleans and everything in it, and I was like, I need to switch this shit up, and I just needed a pivot in my life. So I ended up moving to Portland for what I thought was going to be a real short time, but then the pandemic hit. And so I had already let go of a lot of my stuff, and so my recent decision to put everything in storage in Portland and not have a set home right now was easier than it would have been if I would have had my house still and a whole bunch of stuff. Here's the video, it's great. So you can see the design process here.
That's cool. Okay.
So that's the mural that we installed. Thanks, Durante. Thanks for that, for putting that together. I think it shows the vibe of it. You can also see that we make the mural off-site and then we transport it in sections to where we're going to be installing it, and then the installation is part of the lesson. So none of the, I think only one gal had been in my mural making class before, because sometimes people take it twice, but no one had ever made a mosaic mural before who the learners in the course. So I take total beginners in that class, and it's really nice to have this sort of textured community who are making it together. So it was fun.
It's really beautiful. If you'd like to see it, it's at Main Street Industries, the incubator that Commonwealth Development runs on East Main. East Main is
Brown, Rear, yeah.
Greer, right nearby.
Yeah.
So yeah, check it out. So yeah, I'd like to thank you so much for sharing your time with us and your images and Alright, I'm going to play a little bit more piano music. We'll keep this image up. Yeah, I'll just say, sorry. Before I forget, and while I'm moving my mic around, Laurel did the first mosaic at Mother Fools. It was destroyed by a car crash. And then 2 car crashes later, Brent George did the current mosaic.
You did? Oh, that's great. I love it.
And it's also my bandmate and ladies visitors. And there's some, oh yeah, I wanted to mention Ladies Visitors is the band I played drums in, and we both write music, and wonderful Ann Hull plays bass and sings also, and we're going to be playing at the Gamma Ray on July 17th, an early show. Yeah, I think that's all for now. Whoa. I'm going to, actually,
What is going
I'm going to
on?
play a few more bagatelles. So these are the ones that I wrote. What's a bagatelle? It's just a short little piano piece. It's just, yeah, the name of the form, I guess. Yeah, okay. So we'll see how this goes. Here for you.
Sounds good on this
Thanks.
side.
So, all right, these are, so that was my older one, and that's on Long Picnic over there that I recorded in 2001. Actually, I'm going to tell that story. We're on blast from the past. I forgot to mention also, I really loved it when you talked about writing a letter to your, to an admired artist, because that's also how I've
gotten a chance to correspond with artists I really admire. So maybe I'll even play the Long Picnic because I have a little more time than I expected. I'm going to play the Long Picnic. I'm going to divert from the program. But my favorite poet is someone named Russell Edson, and I just discovered him by accident when I was 18. I ran into my high school friend in our university library, and she was reading a book by Russell Edson, and she was into it, and I read it, and it was just really fantastic. So anyhow, years later, I wanted to write, to include his poem like it was lyrics to an instrumental song by Your Mom SRO, the band I played in with John Hain when we were Your Mom, and we're the owners of Mother Fool's Coffee House. When we were Your Mom, we went to Mother Fool's, which was existing for about 9 months, I think, before we bought it. And Jean Lister, the owner, was so great. But she was really excited that we played in a band called Your Mom. So she just really liked us. We played there, and she was all excited about Your Mom at Mother Fool's. And then when she wanted out of the business, she pushed us to buy it and actually made us an offer we couldn't refuse. I do a lot of work. I work on mutual aid economy stuff with Humans United and Mutual Aid Networks, mutualaidnetwork.org. And I always talk about it. My whole life is built on neighborly economics. It's the only reason I've been able to do what I want to do as much music as I want. It also means I have no savings. It means if we were to try to retire, we would have to sell our buildings for a ton of money. So that's one of the reasons I really work on creating different economic dynamics, because everybody should benefit from neighborly economics and be able to have a good livelihood doing your creative work and not have to have it be so fucking hard. People get paid for a lot of less than useless and quite destructive things, so I think we can change that. But anyhow, yeah, so thanks. That is a really meandering way to come back to the story of Russell Edson and the Long Picnic. So I wrote him a letter asking permission. At first I wrote him a letter asking permission to use his poem as lyrics, and he wrote a letter back and granted permission. And then a few years after that, I wanted to actually sing his poem. So I've set his poem to music. I have actually a couple different versions of it, but I'll play the original. And then he wrote back when I asked him permission the second time and wrote, "Of course I remember you and Your Mom SRO. I play it often on my computer as I compose my pieces." And I still have that on my, up on my ledge. But I was just, I am very grateful to be from the days where we wrote letters and got to meet our heroes that way. So, this is The Long Picnic by Russell Edson, and then one more part of this story is this album came out on September 11th, 2001. So I was in Chicago there for my CD release party, and at the moment, The Long Picnic was representing the end of an idyllic period in my life, but then it also represented the end of, it was certainly not an idyllic period, but an end of a different kind of innocence that we would, benefit to get some of that back. An official document blows through the forest between the trees over the heads of the picnickers. It is the end of summer, and there is only the snow to be looked forward to. It is the end of summer, and there is only the snow to be looked forward to. It is the end of summer. The photosynthetic world is collapsing. Those who've been picnicking all summer in the forest see that their food has gone bad. The blackberry jam is tar. The picnic baskets are full of bones wrapped in old newspapers. It is the end of A young man turns to his sweetheart. It is the end of summer. She's an old woman with white hair. Her head bobs on her neck. The picnickers try to catch the document as it flies over their heads, but the wind carries it away. What is written on it is that. What is written on it is. What is written on it is that. The summer is over. The summer is over. The summer is over. you. I was in a mode of playing a bunch of piano and writing a bunch of those little things, including a couple that I just totally don't remember anymore because I was writing them around the beginning of lockdown stuff and a lot of other things that were like designed to crush my spirit, like many of you, I'm sure, experienced, and everything else, our business, my organization, everything. So anyhow, we're still here. All right, let's hear it. But right around that time, it was so emblematic. I broke both my wrists during that same time. It was just like such a symptom of all the other things. But anyhow, so I totally forgot a couple of those bagatelles, and I really like them. But they're not only human, so you can hear them here. And so is this song, the title track, and the outro today. And actually, I keep thinking of her, so I'm just going to mention her, Linda Berry. Who's a Linda Berry fan here? Yeah, so I did a writing workshop with her. We're fortunate to have her here in our state. And occasionally she does these writing workshops. I don't know if she still does, but if you get a chance to take one, it's totally more than worth it. But she came into the workshop and just like sang a cappella as like, I'm Linda Berry, I was born, like saying her story. And then she was like, that's the most nerve-wracking thing you can do is like stand up and sing in front of people. So I like to get out of the way at the beginning of this. I always think about this because it's sort of part of this song. But anyhow, she's a huge hero of mine, and I'm very pleased to be surrounded by a bunch of heroes of mine, like greats in the art world here in the audience and as guests, and then also the owner of this cafe, Coda, Hannah John Taylor. Like we are privileged to have all these giants among us, and we're super lucky to be in the Willie Street neighborhood. So yeah, spend your time here and don't drive your car fast. Yeah. Or at all. It's so bike friendly, there's no need to. All right. And one more reminder, if you live in town, come see the Mothballs, one of my new bands, on July 5th at the Gamma Ray. There's a flyer over there. Come see Lady Scissors July 17th at the Gamma Ray. Come back here in September. We're taking a 2-month break for the summer. And then my September piano recital guest is Josh Hardy. I have actually really great musical guests lined up for fall. I want to remind you there's a tip bucket over there. We split the tips with the guests, and it's a free show, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. And unlike Laurel, I am bad at trying to make my livelihood at art. So enough talking, more rock, less talk. To them.